Hi, everybody, and welcome back to On the Roof. Today we have a wonderful guest, Portia Oliver, and she is a yoga coach with a story and a half. And we're going to get right into her story, and I think we're going to be able to help a lot of people that take the time to listen to this. So, without further ado, welcome, Portia.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure is absolutely mine. And you're coming to us from Mojocar, Spain.
That's correct.
Covering the whole world here. Thank God for Skype, right? Unbelievable. Connecting the world.
Definitely.
So tell us about what you're doing with yourself now.
So basically I'm a yoga coach who's on a bit of a mission to try and help other people basically change their lives, but just by self-discovery and starting to engage with their own bodies and getting to know themselves again. Because I think in the world that we live in now, everyone seems to be quite distracted with things they've got to be doing and going from one thing to the next. So I'm trying to spread out that we just need to slow down and understand ourselves a bit better before we go forward with what we're trying to achieve in a roundabout way.
Well, yeah, and you make that sound so simple, but your experience that brought you to this position in life is not so simple, is it?
No, it's not so simple. No, so I hit my rock bottom after I'd been in a job for many years that I wasn't very happy in, and I went through a real bad financial difficulty. I ended up bankrupt, got very poorly, and then I had 2 children all at the same time. So I ended up having a thyroid condition, and my medication that I was taking led for me to go on to become on antidepressants. So at this time I was feeling very lost and very confused, and I just really wanted to start to figure out what was going on in my life. So I had my moment of clarity where I had a wake-up call, and that's when I set off on my journey, and so that's why I'm sort of trying to help others.
But it's almost like, we've spoken prior to this. So from what I gathered from your story too, it's almost like you were being attacked mentally, physically, emotionally, medically, spiritually, from like all these angles all at once. The fact, it's absolutely overwhelming, but the fact that you didn't buckle and you had a moment of clarity in that, like, what's your response to that? I mean, that kind of situation, they say there's a kind of a monologue from a movie with Al Pacino, and he goes, when the shit hits the fan, there's only 2 kinds of people, ones who stand and ones who run. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but basically in that moment of clarity, some people stand and face the music and some people run for the wind. You know?
I don't know why I was able to find that strength. I think it was part of my journey. I think the way I look at it now is I look back and think all of that brought me to this point. So it was obviously for me to have this moment of wake-up call, and it was for me to learn as much as I've learned so that I can help others, is the way I see it. Because I can't understand. I mean, I did start to drink, like most people do. I did start to become reliant on alcohol as a way of dealing with it. I did have all the medication that the doctors were giving me for everything as well to try and keep me going. And I still felt very lost and very lonely and very sad. And, I would sit there crying when I was with my children rather than enjoying these moments. There'd be times that I'd just be so desperately unhappy. So it was the universe or something shone down from above and said to me, you need to open your eyes and look at what you're doing here and wake up. And that was it. And I think just starting off on, thank God we have the internet, and doing a bit of research online and being able to see that actually there was still this world open to me, and I had so many opportunities to things I could try to self and to get onto my journey of getting over this. So I dropped all my medication. I literally went cold turkey, which everyone said was the worst thing I could do. And that was it. I was off on my new journey straight away from day one. As soon as I started to go, I was gone. And I haven't stopped over the last 8 years. I'm still learning.
Yeah. You know what I often find in cases like this, based on my own experiences, just meeting so many people in my own journey, is that it's like a miracle that you're available at that moment. Like this, almost the stars have to be aligned that you're available to the solution in that moment of absolute mayhem and chaos and you know, all this out of control stuff going on, and somehow things just come together enough for you to just take that next little step, which is maybe the biggest step of your entire life, that first step, you know, towards change.
Definitely. I heard something yesterday which I thought was just so perfect. About someone said about how the sea goes over a rock every day and it starts to gradually change the shape of the rock. And I thought that is exactly what my journey was.
Yeah,
it was like,
wow.
I made such a small change, and then that started to, you know, to get me to this point. Probably when I started out, I probably felt I can even remember there were days that I thought, what am I doing? This is pointless. Just carry on being the person I am. You know, what's the point in change? I almost gave up on it, I'm sure. But it was little things every day. And then, you know, before I knew it, I was starting to become, I said to you, didn't I, about running the marathon, I started to find this inner strength and this passion. And I realized I was capable of so much more than literally just this person I had become. I just suddenly had this whole wake-up call.
You're like a living, breathing phenomenon, because, and I'm saying this not to just be flattering, but I mean, just to see photographs of you and videos of you when you're doing yoga, to think that you weren't like a natural athlete throughout your life. That's the only thing you can think when I see you doing what you do now. And yet that's not the case.
Not at all, no. I wasn't that flexible, and I probably still am not that flexible compared to a lot of yoga teachers out there. And I definitely wasn't a runner. I wasn't any sort of, I mean, I would do the odd sort of workout video or something, but that was it. I was never really, I didn't do the well in sports at school or anything like that. So I know to end up in a career that's focused on people getting healthy and fit and into well-being is really amazing. And people always do come to me and they sort of say to me, oh, have you always been that flexible? And I'm like, no, it's, you know, not at all. You just, every day, just keep practicing. Life is a practice, yoga is a practice, everything is a practice, and it will start to improve.
In particular with yoga, how has that been such a driving force in your life now?
Because yoga gave me time, is the best way that I can describe it. I think I was somebody that went from one thing to the next, always filling my time with things that I needed to be doing, cooking dinner for the family, or, you know, work, whatever it was. There was always something I needed to be filling my time with. Yoga gave me the excuse to get onto a yoga mat, and it didn't matter if I was doing something really intensive or if I was literally just sitting on the mat and breathing, but it gave me time to myself, and it gave me time to have a quiet mind. It gave me time to just think about my body, to appreciate myself, and it's just something I'd never done before, that had never been in my world before. So it became addictive. It became, I wanted to get on the mat every day. It became something that if I didn't do it, I would fall to pieces. I was a better person after I'd been on my mat. So it just sort of changed my life just because of giving myself time. And I say to people often, I don't think it necessarily has to be yoga, but it needs to be you actually embracing in you and being aware of how you feel and your body feels and noticing your own breath and just being completely present in your body.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, one question I ask anybody that from my limited experience, I feel takes yoga really seriously and credits it for their profound change is, you know, what has yoga given you? What is it given you?
It's changed my life, hasn't it? It's given me strength, but not necessarily in the physical sense, but in the mental strength. So by starting to recognize myself and appreciate myself, I could really understand that actually I was so much more powerful than I realized, and I could make it happen. And I think once you're working through the poses as well, you realize that, you know, if you can stand in a pose on one leg and have the other leg up in the air and arms here, there, and everywhere, you realize God, if I can do this, I can do anything. You know, I think it changes your life completely in a sense that it just makes you appreciate everything about yourself so much more.
But isn't it like there's a switch of your perspective, and when you can just flip that switch and your perspective changes, in other words, your outlook towards everything you look at is now different. It's yes, I can, instead of like,
Yeah.
oh no, here it comes again. That's profound.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And you see people changing their life every day through yoga now. So it's amazing that it's so much more aware and it's so much more popular now, and everyone's talking about it because it is life changing.
Yes, and with that being said, it's also infiltrated by not so serious, not so true to the real basic fundamental gifts that the practice has to offer. It's been so and listen, like I did yoga. The first time I ever did it was probably 1990. I did it out in LA with Bikram. We spoke about this, and I have to be honest, like it was physically challenging to me in a way because flexibility was never something that I was like really understood, took serious or whatever. You know, it either came natural or it was something I didn't care about, like one or the other. But when I took this class with him, there were women in this class doing things with their bodies that was absolutely mind-boggling. And I guess the best word to use would be ignorance, but I'm just like lusting. I'm like, look at these women doing these things. Like, this is absolutely awesome. You know, like, wow. And
Yeah.
so, you know, obviously I'm not on point for that, right? So when I was there, what I was gaining from it was just physical stuff. And the teacher was Bikram, who he takes narcissism to a level that very few people have ever ventured that far. And that became overbearing. But that was my initial introduction to it. It took 30 years after that, and to meet Tao and another friend, Leisha, who was in it. I knew her basically as long as I ever knew her. When I asked her, by the way, what yoga did for her, she goes, "It saved me from me."
Yeah.
And I thought that was profound, like, you know.
Definitely.
But Tao is the one, like this, you know, older woman who just is like wise beyond anything I know, and she goes back to its like, obviously she can go back as far as yoga further than anybody, and just to explain what the real purpose is and what the benefits are of it. And it's really simple. The answers to almost everything in life are simple. And in most cases, no matter what the problem is, breathing helps. Knowing, understanding breath, which is one of the primary gifts that yoga will give you if you take the time to really understand that. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Because the breath slows things down. And when we breathe properly, the body functions properly, the blood flow properly. It helps with healing. If we've got any like ailments or illnesses or anything that we're suffering with, the breath is just so important. You know, you read it all the time, don't you, about how people self-heal through different means of, you know, exercising through yoga or meditation or whatever it is. So that proves it, doesn't it, by slowing our breath down and by starting to just understand the body and where you're focusing your energy on. You know, that's going to change your life. It's going to make you better. So it's just amazing what we can do, really. What we don't, there's so many people in the world that don't know that they can do this. The trouble is that we've got sort of brainwashed into believing we've got to go down the medication route for everything now. But,
Yeah.
you know, becoming so much more, you know, widespread that we can actually do it ourselves. So, but going back to what you said before, I think when you go to a class, I think there is that intimidation to try and keep up with somebody when
Yeah.
they're really, you know, when you class and the people that are really good, it can be very intimidating. And that's kind of the lesson you've got to learn as well, is about actually when you're on your mat, it's your practice. You shouldn't be worried about what everyone else is doing, and it shouldn't be even the coach is there as a guide or the teacher's there as a guide. So they're not even there to, you know, you're not trying to reach to their level, but you're trying to have your journey on your mat. And I think that's what's really important. It needs to be pushed out a bit more to people when they get onto a yoga mat, is it's for them to just get on it and just be in their body and do what they can. And everyone's different, and we're all going to feel it differently. Our bodies are all shaped differently. So it's just all about your practice, your time. and going into you.
Yeah, and that's really staying focused on why you're there in the first place.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How has the experience in your yoga practice helped you in the other aspects of your life?
It's just helped me. I was somebody that was quite neurotic, I think, before.
Neurotic in what sense?
In that I was a perfectionist, and I needed to have. People used to call me the bleach queen because I would bleach everything, because I felt like everything needed to be clean and perfect.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I
I'm a
don't know
bleach.
why.
I believe in bleach too. Now I'm feeling guilty. Wow.
I don't know why I used to surround
Another
myself with
level
all
of loser.
I would literally put so much pressure on myself to have a clean house and to make sure that my children were fed by a certain time and in bed by a certain time, and just ridiculous, unnecessary pressures. Whereas now I live a much more fluid life, I would say. I go with the flow a lot more. If ever things are running late, I try and stay focused to the fact that nothing's going to, go into any perfect time or order in my life. It's just, you've got to breathe your way through it like you do on the yoga mat. You just got to breathe your way through life, and what's going to happen is going to happen. So I just don't put any unexpected expectations or unnecessary expectations on myself anymore. I think I used to worry so much about whether I was failing as a parent and whether I was doing the right thing for my children. And now I just think, no, it's their journey. It's up to them to find their path. I'm here to guide them, but I'm not supposed to be there to lead them. They've got to find it themselves. So I think yoga's taught me that, and that's helping me teach them, and it's helping me in my own life, my family life. So as a whole, it's changed my life.
Do you think that control that you seem to find so necessary, was that a result of just conditioning?
I think, yeah, it's a lifetime of being told certain things and picking up certain things as to what I should be doing, who I should be, where as a parent, what I should be like. I think it was just what I'd been brought up with, what I'd been surrounded by. And it just made me think that was what I needed to do. When actually, I don't really care anymore if someone comes into my house and it's not pristine.
No, but you didn't know. You didn't even know that was acceptable behavior. That was like you failed.
Yeah.
Like if you were where you are now, with your perspective, that would be deemed, based on how you were conditioned, a failure.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So I mean, there's a real overhaul in your perception.
Exactly. Whereas now I look around my house and I think, oh my God, it's in chaos, and I don't care. I sort of laugh at it, and I love that. And I think that's what I like about. That's how, again, it reflects to your yoga practice, because when you're in a yoga pose and you fall out of it and you laugh at yourself, it's exactly the same thing. We take life way too seriously.
Yeah.
Relax. And when we breathe and just release all that expectation, then life's so much more fluid and just nicer. It's a nicer way to be.
You know what, though? I believe, like, certain people, you're not gonna comprehend that concept. Like, you got to get knocked down, beat down, surrender, fight back, surrender again. Like life has to rip you through mudslides in order for you to say, okay, all right, maybe I'll take a look at a different approach.
Yeah.
Because the control is so important, and I think that's fear-based. I think everything's fear-based, but that's what it is. Like, I'd rather go down and die ignorant but fighting. And then you realize, wow, there's people that don't even feel like they need to fight, and they look so free. They have a glow. There's like, what have I been missing? Please help me. Like, it's a desperation. Like, I can't believe this. And I'm so stressed out and so high strung, and all of this shit is so unnecessary.
Yeah.
And
that's the sad thing. That what's the difference between somebody that feels like that and somebody that is glowing and walks along free? It's a choice. It's their mind. It's what they're telling themselves. I know that sounds like, to a lot of people, they'd be like, I can't choose, but you do. You do choose. You choose how you react to things every day, and you choose how you take it in, how you absorb other people's comments and things like that as well. You can. It's like when you see someone in traffic, someone sat in traffic, and you beep in their horn, and they're getting really angry, and then you see someone else a few cars behind, just sat there with their music on, arm out the window, all leisurely, not caring. And it's that they're in the same traffic jam. It's like, it's a choice. You choose to get angry and wound up about something, or you choose just to think,
They're in
I've
the
got
same traffic jam, and there's no way out of it.
no.
I mean, it's time to accept the fact that you're in this traffic jam, and yet there's still that like unwillingness to relinquish control. It's like you need to defy life itself and stay angry and stay worked up, stay stressed.
Yeah.
But I think if you
And
are from that nature, if that's part of, you need to go through that. Like you need to exercise that. Like you need
yeah,
to get
I
that
think
has to be flushed from you, or else you still
yeah,
think that what I'm doing is can't be so wrong. It's kind of working. Like I'm okay, and until you're knocked down and unable to get back up, why would you think that there's any other way?
yeah. I think there's just for me there was so much I needed to learn. I needed to read, I needed to absorb, and like I said, I still do, and I still need reminders because sometimes I lose. I'll go off on a tangent about something. People might say something, they'll criticize me. I might take it on board, and it takes me to remind myself. And I think that's what it is. You need constant reminders. You need to constantly be listening to the fact of people like myself or other people that have been through it and have turned their lives around, so it is possible. And you know that you can do it, and you know how to do it. And you need to keep having someone remind you, whether it's a book, whether it's podcast, whether it's online sessions with someone, whatever it is, you just need to constantly remind yourself that there is a different way to be. You don't have to keep getting wound up because, what's the options? You live this life that you're stressed all the time and wound up, and then you end up with illness. That's when the disease in the
Yeah,
body starts to grow. So it's
yeah,
like you have to choose, what do I want for my future? And I wanted a happy, relaxed life. I saw myself one day on like an island in Bali or something like that, living the dream, my
yeah,
little beach hut. That was
yeah.
my vision for my future.
That's your
Not,
vision, and yet you're doing everything in your life to not get there. Every
that's
breath
it.
you
I was
take
just,
is taking you the other direction.
well, I thought the world I was in, the kind of the roller coaster world, the mainstream world of go, 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 everyone always on the go, ups and downs, da, 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 da. I thought that was going to get me to the point, because that's what you're told as you grow up, isn't it? That you need to really plow everything into it, and you need to be doing this and doing that, and there's so much expectation, especially as a mother and a wife. I think you're running your job, you're running the house, you're running everything, and it's like, where does it stop?
Yeah, yeah,
So then at that point where you go, okay, I can do all these, but I need time out. I need to have time where I just engage with absolutely nothing and to just be present and stop.
yeah. Obviously, you have a great depth to you. Because your practice is relatively new. How many years have you been practicing yoga?
So I'm practicing yoga now for about 8 years,
Right,
and then I've been teaching for 3.
right. Would you say that by practicing yoga, that you are honoring your feminine energy more so, like focusing on honoring it, like not just yeah, even if it's subconscious, you're honoring it, but are you deliberately focusing on that, recognizing these traits within yourself and then saying this is where I want to, assert my energy?
Definitely. I think I've really discovered that actually I'm a very, women have a lot of different issues, don't they, with their menstrual cycle and everything else. And I think when you're growing up, it's seen as quite a shameful thing to have that part of your body. And for me, it was, and particularly, I had a lot of bullying because of that area. And I think I grew up then sort of disliking being a female. Didn't like,
Bullying, being
sorry.
bullied for being a girl.
Well, I had like some, when I first had my period, I think I bled through my clothes. So then at
Oh,
school,
kids would be real cruel. Yeah, right. Okay.
I got called lots of different names after that, which was horrible experience to go through, because it's obviously a horrible time in your life, and it makes you feel like it's dirty and it's disgusting, and it's something that you should hide away. So I then
Yeah.
when I was going through this period of transformation 8 years ago, I started to actually learn a lot about the menstrual cycle and how powerful that area is. and how when you utilize that energy that we have, it can make us a very powerful person. That's why when people say, behind every good man is a good woman, and I think that's because we are really.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's something that's
So much.
that's just such a part of life for any female, right? And yet, I just find this fascinating how that can be, the almost like another moment of clarity for you, like using that incident, to find something that is the same thing that goes on with every woman. Every woman experiences this, and that to be the catalyst to what makes you, no matter how long it's tormented you, you get to a certain point where that's going to be the incident through being traumatized over it to change your perspective and just say like, wow,
Yeah.
that's the catalyst.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the things that I learned as I started to get further, because after I did my yoga training, my teacher training, I also did a women's healings course, and that was all about engaging with cycle
Yeah.
and your energy and understanding women. And I learned a lot in there about, obviously, I have a daughter myself, and how what we're saying to them about that time in their life, how much that's going to influence her relationship with her own body, and how she's going to feel about herself as she grows up. So, which, obviously my parents weren't aware of,
Yeah.
and probably a lot of people aren't aware of
Right.
how influential that is in a girl's life, and how we need to kind of not see it as so shameful and actually see it as a really beautiful, important part, because it's, the turning into a woman. So it's a really special time, and it should actually be celebrated. But the trouble is, we've sort of become a world where we kind of go, oh, it's disgusting. Don't tell anyone, keep it secret, hide it away. So it makes it something.
Like that's where your empowerment, began, with the confusion over that, to then, come away with this really deep understanding of it and how
Yeah,
valuable that can be. It's simple. It's like love. It's like just like, how to show your love to another human being. Whether it's a
yeah,
child, in an adult, in a physical intimate relationship, in a family setting, in a work setting, like just to be like a caring person, to understand the depth and value of it. It's hard, and life is constantly throwing curveballs at us. And even with our best, I know myself, I'm just guilty as charged, but with the very best intentions, I can screw up anything. And I can start my day reading like spiritual things, and by like 10 in the morning, I'm a train wreck. It can happen. It doesn't matter. You get better at it, but it's almost subconscious. If I'm not
yeah,
constantly, engaged in this type of conversation, I really lose perspective quick. And believe me, I can walk out the door, get in the car, get down to the corner, somebody just misses hitting me, and it's on.
yeah,
But I do have reference now. I know I can breathe. I know I don't have to act out. I don't have to respond. There was a time I didn't know that. I responded. I reacted. I didn't know. Like, I thought that was what you do.
I've been there. I've thought people have judged me, and I've turned around and bitten their head off in the street as well before in the past. And now I would never even think to do that. I think another thing that I learned was I needed to just open myself up and be kind and loving to everyone.
That's my point, right?
And a lot of people talk about when something bad happens to one of their children, and they say they forgave the person that did it, and you sort of go, how can you do
Oh
that?
my God, that's
And
the ultimate.
yeah, it's because what's the option? That they hold that negative energy inside their body, and it eats away at them, and instead they have to open up and release it and forgive that person so that they themselves can move on. And I think it's just the same with everything that happens in my life. If I get hit by things that are unexpected, I have to just go, okay, what's the options here? I can think about it, I can worry about it, I can keep playing it over in my mind, or I can let it go and just let the universe, take place, and let everything just happen as it's going to happen, because you just have no control over these things. A lot of the time we worry about so many things that we just have no control over, and it's crazy. It can ruin people.
I still think that is the epitome of faith and forgiveness. That level of forgiveness when you have like a child, and something happens to your child, like somebody
Yeah.
deliberately victimizes your child. I've seen this on the news before, or in different, stories, whether it be documentaries or whatever, where something would happen to someone's child, and you hear the parent going, they forgive or they're meeting the person that molested their child in prison and killed their child in prison, and they're forgiving them. I'm thinking like, oh my God,
I
how do you
know.
do that? How
Yeah.
do
It's
you
just
do that?
a,
Like, if you don't do that, I totally get it. But for
yeah.
those who do, that's like another level of like
Yeah.
divine, and I don't think I'm capable. I'm not, when I say that, I'm in awe of it. I really am. I see some people that just are phenomenal human beings. Their souls are just special. You
Yeah.
know, I, I can't claim to be of that, but I do admire it. I can recognize it.
Because they know, don't they, that it will just eat away at them forever. If they hold that grudge, it will just destroy
Yeah,
them.
like, where is your spirituality as a result of your journey?
I think it's an interesting one, isn't it, spirituality? Because I obviously have my beliefs, and I would say I'm very spiritual in a sense of my practice, and I'm very aware of energy and body's energy, and I can really pick up now how other people feel and things like that. But as far as going down a religion and things like that, I'm not there. It's like I have my own beliefs, and I'm very aware that they're so much bigger than me, so much bigger than this whole world. But where I stand further than that, I don't know. But I'm just quite happy at the moment, kind of being in my little bubble.
Were you raised religiously?
No, no.
Okay. Well, good for you. Wow. There's one set of handcuffs you don't have to break out of. Yeah. Yeah, and it's that's almost like a sentence. It's bizarre because I've heard it put that religion is for people who are afraid to die, and spirituality is for people who want to live.
Yeah,
Spirituality, religion is for people who are afraid of hell, and spirituality is for people who've already been there. It's like you get a deeper sense of whatever, however you want to define spirituality. It has nothing to do with a church or anything. It just like your connection with whatever you connect with.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. I think every yoga teacher has their own idea of that. I think that is what I would say. I think everyone has their own idea of what they're connecting themselves to, what's above, what energy they're using. But at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing, and I think it's more about we're sharing the love, we're sharing the ability to open up your body, open up your mind, to find your inner strength and to connect with yourself, and that's what's changing their lives more than
That was the
whether
key.
or not. I don't know.
That's the key. What you just said, them finding their inner strength. Like you're the viaduct for them to do that. But
Yeah,
that's what
definitely.
it is. It's me finding what's within me. You're going to guide me and help me to do that, and show me that it is within me. I noticed
Yeah,
that's the gauge I use when I I meet a lot of different teachers and have taken different classes from a lot of different. There's some that really make it about themselves. It's really about let me show you this, and let me, this is what you want to do, what I do. This is what
yeah,
you want to strive for. Okay. But then there's others that are really humble about it and are really letting you empower yourself. They're not empowering you. They're like here's the key. Open your own door.
yeah,
And that is what I feel better with. Like when I'm in that, I trust that person more. When you have a teacher say, go check out other teachers. Go out there, discover yourself. Get out there. It's not about me. It's about you. That makes me
yeah.
want to go back to them.
Yeah, there's a lot of teachers out there now that are becoming performers rather than, I think. I mean, they've got a great message and they're doing a really good job and they are helping people, but they're ultimately performers. And you're in a class and you're so busy watching them that you're not having your own practice
Right.
because they're trying to show you things that the average person couldn't even do. And I think that's where there is that sort of that there's the line, isn't there? There's the line of what you need to decide what you want to do. Do you want to go and watch someone else perform and impress you, or do you want to go and engage on your mat with yourself. And that's got to be your choice.
Yeah, and there's a place for both, actually.
Yeah. Maybe you need to go and be inspired every now and again by someone. I know my teacher, when I go see my teacher, she's phenomenal and I always get blown away. But I couldn't practice with her every day because I'd lose myself. That wouldn't be my practice. It's her practice, and it is really inspiring.
Because you're always chasing her instead of
Yeah.
finding you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
that's...
think you need to be reminded when you get on that mat. Every time you get on the mat, you need to be reminded that it's your practice and your body, and it's about you, and it doesn't matter where you are, who you're next to. It's time for you, and that's the biggest turning point in anyone's life. If they're just going to come to the yoga mat like they do in life without anything else and start seeing, their ego and competition, then they're not going to get the same from it as what I'm talking about. I think you need to be prepared to. A lot of people don't want to go deep into themselves, though, do they? They don't want to actually embrace themselves.
Totally.
That's you want to heal and you want to be a better person,
But you don't want to do the work.
That's the world we live in, isn't it? We expect everything to be like so instant. Like, I need that now. I need to feel better now. People message me and they're like, I need to feel better straight away. I'm like, it's not going to happen overnight. I wish it did.